Hello, Year 12. It's Mr. Fowler here. I just want to go through the Billy Elliot essay with you as quickly as possible. We've got a fair bit to cover. You can see up here we've got goals for today. The first point is to recap the structure of the Billy Elliot essay. The Billy Elliot essay is in section 1 of the trial HSC paper, and that is due week 4 of this term. The trial starts around the 12th of August, I think. So the first thing is recap the structure. Second, recap the first two paragraphs. We did the first two paragraphs last lesson. The first two paragraphs are the introduction, and then we give a brief synopsis. The second paragraph is a brief synopsis of the film as a whole, with the direction of gender stereotypes, social norms, and expectations around gender stereotypes. And the last thing I want to do today, which is quite ambitious, as you can see, number 3, work on the next 3 paragraphs. So let's just get straight into it because we've got a lot to cover. You'll see the structure. I'm going to get Mrs. Westman to hand out a photocopy of the structure, this is a really basic explanation of the structure. So all it is just telling you what the paragraph is about and the techniques that we'll be using to discuss it. Take a couple of minutes if you can to have a look at that. So Mrs. Westman, you're more than free to pause this while they have a look at that general structure so that when I start talking about each paragraph, they'll at least understand where it fits into the whole structure. Moving on very quickly. Okay, so let's just recap on what we did last lesson. Last lesson, we looked at the introduction. The introduction, as you know, requires 3 things in it. 1, you've got to reference the text, and you've got to tell me who the director of the film is, Stephen Daldry. 2, you've got to tell me what your discussion points will be. And our discussion points will be about gender stereotypes, social expectations, the conservative pressure around gender stereotypes and gender identity. I know I'm talking a lot there, but I'm just dropping words I'm hoping that you'll pick up and put in your own phrasing. We're not going to be talking in our essay about poverty, about family structure, or the political backdrop, or the idea that there are strikes going on in the mines. We are dealing solely with gender stereotypes, identity, creativity, and Billy's struggle to deal with social expectations around gender. Okay, so let's look at an introduction. You'll see introduction number 1, it says the film, Billy Elliot. So I have to name the film, directed by Stephen Daldry. I name the director. Explores how societal expectations around gender and masculinity can restrict individual identity. These are just big words that I'm dropping, but basically I'm just talking about the idea that Billy has trouble finding out who he really is. And he lives in a hyper-masculine world where they sort of restrict creativity and independence and identity. That's all I'm talking about. So if you look at introduction number 2, it says the same thing, but in a different way. Stephen Daldry, in the film Billy Elliot. See, already I've mixed up the director and the film. Doesn't matter, I just got to have it in there. Offers a powerful exploration of gender identity and the limiting expectations placed on boys in a traditional society. Big words again, but just a different way of saying that I will be looking at gender identity and the social expectations around gender identity. Introduction number 3. In the world where boys are expected to be tough, aggressive, and unemotional, Stephen Daldry's film Billy Elliot dares to challenge these outdated ideas. So I can put it any way I want, with any expression I want, and use different types of words just to explain the idea that Billy is having trouble working out who he is because of the expectations and the norms and the restrictions around like gender identity. Gender identity is our key word there. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to have a go at writing the introduction if you would like. Mrs. Westman, you might want to pause and give them a chance to just quickly scribble something down. But even if they make mistakes, that's okay. We just want to move forward. Recapping paragraph 2, where it's the social context. So we're just talking about the film. It's just a synopsis, a brief summary, a very brief summary, but the direction is towards gender stereotypes. That's what we're looking at, gender identity. So Billy Elliot is a film about a boy in a working class mining town who lives with his father and brother in a hyper-masculine society. So I'm just discussing the film. It's set in the 1980s in northern England, etc., etc. But I lean towards explaining that he lives in a hyper-masculine world. He lives in a world where it's very clear around the expectations of what it means to be a boy or a man. And if you push back against that or you break down those barriers, you are met with resistance. So let's have a look at what I wrote. In a film about a boy in the working class mining town who lives with his father and brother in a hyper-masculine society within northern England in the 1980s, Billy discovers a passion for ballet, challenging the rigid expectations of masculinity. That's our key there, challenging the rigid expectations of masculinity in his community. As Billy pursues dancing, he defies social norms that associate ballet with femininity and struggles to gain acceptance from his father and his peers. All I'm saying there is Billy grew up in a very hyper-masculine family, and he's pushing back against the expectations of what it means to be a man. He has a father named Jackie, a brother, and they are strong male role models, but he tries to find his creativity and individuality through dance. That's all I'm saying. And you can put it any way you would like. So, Mrs. Westman, I'm going to give you another 2 minutes. Just give them like 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, just to quickly get them to scribble something down and to work on the phrasing of that social context. Moving on. Now, this is what we haven't done so far. We're up to paragraph 3, and we are just identifying the problem that exists within Billy's world. The problem that exists within Billy's world is the binary opposites between male masculinity and femininity. And Billy exists within those two frameworks. So Billy's got to sort himself out. Who is he? Where does he fit? And they define those two major binary opposites of masculinity and femininity through two distinct symbols: boxing gloves and ballet shoes. Boxing gloves symbolize masculinity, violence, aggressiveness. Yeah, almost toxic masculinity in a way because of the violence that's associated with it. And the ballet shoes symbolize femininity. But the juxtaposition, and we know what juxtaposition is, it's the visual contrast of those binary opposites, demonstrate the problem that Billy has, the world that he lives in. And before we start talking about solutions, we want to put down that in a paragraph if we can. So now we start to write. So this is the third paragraph. So you'll see I start with, the film illustrates the gender divide that exists. So that's the gender divide, the binary opposites in thinking around gender and masculinity and femininity. The divide between those two that exists within Northern England in the 1980s. Billy is socialized. That just means pushed. Billy is, he has no choice. He's pushed into boxing and he's not given a choice. His dad, Jackie, gives Billy his boxing gloves. Now, do you notice in this paragraph that I say, okay, here's the problem. Let's see if I can. Here's the problem. The problem is the gender divide. Yep. So we have a problem, the gender divide, and that's what I'm talking about. That's my topic sentence for this paragraph, the gender divide. Then, in amongst that, I just talk a little bit about the text. I just discuss it in regards to that. And I could take a little bit of time in this paragraph, like I've been quite brief, but if you want to extend it a little bit further, I start just discussing it. So Billy is socialized into boxing, and is not given a choice. I could talk about the fact that he lives with his dad in a really hyper masculine world, and his dad pushes boxing onto him because it's an expectation they have in the family. That's all I'm discussing. I'm just discussing the text in regards to Billy being pushed into boxing, and I'm setting up for boxing as a symbol. And here's my technique. Boxing is a symbol of masculinity passed down through generations. So passing down those boxing gloves is a symbol of masculinity that is passed down from generation to generation. It's pushed onto Billy. So Billy, however, breaks this social norm by experimenting with dance. The ballet shoes are a symbol of femininity. So within this paragraph, there's some key things that I'm doing. One, I'm telling you the gender divide. Two, I'm telling you that the boxing gloves are symbolic of masculinity. And three, I'm telling you that the opposite of that is the ballet shoes, which are a symbol of femininity. And Billy is, in a way, breaking down the social norms, those expectations. He's pushing back against them by doing dance. All right. I hope we can pick up on that. So, what I want you to do, I want you to, looking at this paragraph up on the board, if you can, take a couple of minutes and I want you to see if you can put it into your own words. So, I want you to have a go at this paragraph if we can. So, we're looking at paragraph 3, and all we're doing is identifying the issue that Billy lives with. And that issue is gender divide. Have a go for me, please. Okay, hopefully Mrs. Westman paused that so I can move on. Now we are up to paragraph 4. Now, paragraph 4, I want to show you just a little clip if I can. So I'm going to stop the slide and we're going to move on to the next link if we can. Hold on. Let me just see if I can. Yeah, we might do that. Let's stop the slide and we'll have a look at a link. Thank you.